Well, the princess said, "Have you brought the moon to me?" she asked. "Not yet," said the court jester, "but I will get it for you right away. How big do you think the moon is?" "It's just a little smaller than my thumbnail," she said, "for when I hold my thumbnail up at the moon, it just covers it." "Okay, and how far away is it?" asked the court jester. "It's not as high as the big tree outside my window," said the princess, "for sometimes it gets caught up in its branches." "It will be very easy to get the moon for you," said the court jester. "I will climb the tree tonight when it gets caught in the top branches and bring it to you." Then he thought of something else. "Oh, Princess, what is the moon made of?" he asked. "Oh," she said, "it's made of gold, of course, silly." Well, the court jester left the Princess Lenore's room and went to see the royal goldsmith. He had the royal goldsmith make a tiny round moon, just a little smaller than the thumbnail of the Princess Lenore. Then he had him string it on a golden chain so the princess could wear it around her neck. "What is this thing I have made?" asked the royal goldsmith when he had finished it. "You have made the moon," said the court jester. "That is the moon." "But the moon," said the royal goldsmith, "is 500,000 miles away and made of bronze and is round like a marble." "That's what you think," said the court jester as he went away with the moon. Well, the court jester took the moon to the Princess Lenore, and she was overjoyed. The next day she was well again and could get up and go out in the garden to play. But the king's worries were not over yet. He knew that the moon would shine in the sky again that night, and he did not want the Princess Lenore to see it. If she did, she would know that the moon she wore on a chain around her neck was not the real moon. So the king sent for the Lord High Chamberlain and said, "We must keep the Princess Lenore from seeing the moon." There's the king worrying with the jester. "We don't want the princess to see the moon when it shines in the sky tonight. Think of something." Well, the Lord High Chamberlain tapped his forehead. "I know just the thing. We can make them some dark glasses for the princess. We can make them so dark that she will not be able to see anything at all. Then she will not be able to see the moon when it shines in the sky." This made the king very angry, and he shook his head from side to side. If she wore dark glasses, she would bump into things, and then she would be ill again. So he went to the Lord High Chamberlain away and called the royal wizard. "We must hide the moon," said the king. "If the Princess Lenore will not see it when it shines in the sky tonight, how are we going to do it?" The royal wizard stood on his hands, and then stood on his head, and then he stood on his feet again. "I know what we will do," said the wizard. "We can stretch some black velvet curtains on poles, and the curtains will cover all the palace gardens like a circus tent. And the Princess Lenore will not be able to see through them, and she will not see the moon at all." The king was still angry, and he waved his arms around. Black velvet curtains would keep out the air. The Princess Lenore would not be able to breathe, and she would be ill again. So he sent the wizard away and summoned the royal mathematician. "We must do something," said the king, "so the Princess Lenore will not see the moon, and when it shines in the sky tonight, if you know so much, figure out how to do that." Well, the royal mathematician walked around in a circle, then he walked around in a square, and then he stood still. "I have it. We can set off fireworks in the garden every night. We can make a lot of silver fountains and golden cascades, and when they go off, they will fill the sky with so many sparks that it will be as light as day. And the Princess Lenore will not be able to see the moon." Well, the king still flew into a rage and began jumping up and down. Fireworks would keep Princess Lenore awake, and she would get any sleep, and she would still be ill. So the king sent him away. When he looked up again, it was dark outside, and he saw the bright rim of the moon just peeping over the horizon. He jumped up in a great fright and rang for the court jester. The court jester came bounding into the room and sat down at the foot of the king's throne. "What can I do for you, your majesty?" he asked. "Nobody can do anything for me. The moon is coming up again, and it will shine into the Princess Lenore's bedroom, and she will know it is still in the sky, that she does not wear it on a golden chain around her neck. Play me something on your lute, something very sad. For when the princess sees the moon, she will be ill again." The court jester strummed on his lute. "What do your wise men say?" he asked. "They think the way to hide the moon. They can think of no way to hide the moon that will not make the Princess Lenore ill." The court jester played another song very softly. "Your wise men know everything, and if they cannot hide the moon, then it cannot be hidden." The king put his head in his hands and sighed. Suddenly he jumped up from his throne and pointed to the windows. "Look, the moon is already shining into the Princess Lenore's bedroom. Who can explain how the moon can be shining in the sky when it's hanging on a golden chain around her neck?" The court jester stopped playing on his lute. Who could explain how to get the moon when your wise men said it was too large and too far away? It was the Princess Lenore. Therefore, the Princess Lenore is wiser than your wise men and knows more about the moon than they do, so I will ask her." And before the king could stop him, the court jester slipped out of the throne room and up the wide marble staircase to the Princess Lenore's bedroom. The princess was lying on her bed, but she was wide awake, and she was looking out the window at the moon shining in the sky. Shining in her hand was the moon that the court jester had got for her. He looked very sad, and there seemed to be tears in his eyes. "Tell me, Princess Lenore, how can the moon be shining in the sky when it's hanging on a golden chain around your neck?" The princess looked at him and laughed. "It's easy, silly. When I lose a tooth, a new one grows in its place, doesn't it?" "Of course," said the court jester. "And when the unicorn loses his horn in the forest, a new one grows in the middle of his forehead." "That is right," said the princess. "And when the royal gardener cuts the flowers in the gardens, other flowers come to take their place." "I should have thought of that," said the court jester, "for it is the same way with daylight, and it is the same way with the moon. I guess it is the very same way with everything." Her voice grew very low and faded away, and the court jester saw that she was asleep. Gently he tucked the covers in around the sleeping princess, but before he left the room, he went over to the window and winked at the moon, for it seemed to the court jester that the moon had first winked at him. The end.